I went to trip. I don't know if I told you or not. I went
Mm.
to a trip.
It was like to an archaeological sort of site, isn't it?
Yeah, and I saw lots of things that I was, when you go see some stuff, I didn't realize it till I went to this trip. Like going to trips and see how was everything before us, it was an amazing kind of experience,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it can, motivate and give you new ideas about everything.
absolutely. Yeah, to see history. History is like the only, what can I say? It's basically the only certifiable sort of old lesson
Yeah.
that you can get and sort of learn from and apply, like even in various situations.
Yeah,
You know?
but don't apply the Greek bathrooms because everyone sit in the same place and they shit together, and there was a water that calms everything out.
Yeah, no, but I mean like
The bathroom was awesome.
in like wars and everything,
Yeah,
history of wars and everything. It's you can apply like basically like the strategical thinking of like leaders and like how
yeah.
they faced problems when they sort of
One of the interesting things that I couldn't find any answer. I even asked my Sina, nah, that was like, I mean, my brother.
Iranian
Shout out,
language.
shout out to Sina. So I talked to him. I was like, how do you think people used to live in this situation? It's like, the things we have and the things they had is way different.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about how was their daily life, what was the mindset, like, how they organize everything, and totally how was everything
Yeah.
compared to us. And I didn't find any answer because, like, we know how kings and like important people lived back in history, but we don't know how people live. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially like also with the, I mean, here's a subject that I really, it is a subject that I quite relate to, because I have been sort of not intensively studying, but reading about the, old Scandinavian lives, like
mm,
old Viking sort of ages, and how people used to live there and stuff. And like I can tell you this to say the least, people had very hard lives. They were working all the time. They had no, it was only like a question of I can eat bread for the day or I'm gonna go to war.
yeah,
That was it. There was nothing else. There was nothing else in their lives. No, I mean, except for the poets and like the people who wrote the sagas of like famous kings and famous warriors. They got to be sort of a little bit artistic, but for the rest of like 90% of the people, it's either like war or bread. That's it.
no, Vikings were like, they were savages. They were, are they like civilized or wise or something? Like, just they thought about like killing and winning the wars and stuff.
I'm so happy you asked me that question because so many people they just watch the Marvel fucking movies or
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
whatever, and they just have this idea that the Vikings are this or that, like Vikings are dirty, they don't
yeah,
wash. No, here's a fun fact: Vikings were actually quite ahead of their time in terms of like civilization and hygiene. They
mm,
used to like prioritize hygiene and like
mhm,
cutting your beard correctly and your hair and everything. So when you go and see them like the movies and TV shows, they sort of conceptualize them as like hairy
yeah,
savages. Where in fact, most of the warriors that wear helmets and stuff had actually their hair like sort of cut a little bit. They had the beard and everything. Also, another like misconception is that they had like a variety of different swords and axes and all of that. But in fact, they were just using whatever they had in stock. So, for example, the farmers, when they go to war or when they get sort of raided by someone else, because they use axes and shovels and all
yeah,
of that. They used to use that in war because
yeah,
it's easy and it's less expensive. And steel back in those ages was expensive.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
I didn't know anything about Europe history, because I used to read Iranian history, and the way I see these two kind of group of people, they're way different in any case. Like, Iranians used to be really peaceful. Like most of the times, if nothing happened to them, they don't like attack anything. They, like, I think the longest war Iranians had was with Romans.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah. Tell me about it. I know
like,
that shit.
that was a really intense war. But I mean, in general, it wasn't like a time that like Iranians like what Arabs did basically. It wasn't like this. I don't know. Some Arabs they said we didn't do this and stuff. It was everything was in peace and stuff.
Bro, back in the fucking in the let's say like the old times of like the Arabs and everything, they used to fucking when they find out that you had a girl as a child, they just buried her
Yeah, yeah,
alive. You know, alive, not even slaying her. Like if they slayed her and like
yeah.
stabbed her somewhere, that would be
Yeah,
much better. But obviously, that doesn't change the fact that this sort of phenomena that existed back in those days is fucked up. This doesn't change anything. But just imagine like the savagery
yeah,
behind it. It's like you had to go, okay, no place. We want warriors. We want men. Bury the girl. Fuck the girl.
yeah.
That was terrible.
Like, but in Iran
So
it was
terrible.
opposites. Opposite. Like in Iran, they really value the woman, and like even back in the day, like the first emperor of Iran was Hachamaneshian. Even they had pregnancy like salary, and a woman if she was pregnant, she could like she could she doesn't have to work for 9 months to 1 year something like
Oh, they
that.
used to give us salary.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Especially on the emperor, like even
By the
the
way, that's really rare, like to exist in
yeah,
those times.
yeah.
Nobody did that
Like
shit.
Iranians were wise. They didn't like uh really do stupid stuff
Yeah.
most of the time. But I mean, I like Iranian history. Because when you look at it, there was lots of art and lots of wise people inside it.
Yeah.
And but I don't know about European countries. How was the history? But you have to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of literature, actual written material, I would say the Anglo-Saxons were much better at it more than anyone else. Maybe even the Franks back in those days. Um, but in terms of domination and everything, the Roman Empire,
Yeah,
obviously, after it dissolved, like we got, modern day um, England,
yeah,
France, Scandinavia, Germany, all of that. What I like about Vikings and like the people of Scandinavia is their mythology gave them potential to conquer the world.
yeah,
I mean, we've seen it. Um, they've conquered, Anglo-Saxon England. They've conquered Francia, which is, modern day France. They even put a king there. They put a king in England. They've conquered the Americas, and the Mediterranean Sea. Now you might think, well, no, Christopher Columbus. That's what they told. That's what they tell
yeah,
us, right?
yeah,
Christopher Columbus is the first one who has discovered the Americas, but that's wrong. If you go back in history, you will see that the Vikings were actually the first ones to have discovered the Americas and to have interacted with the native Indians there. It was a sailor who was called Floki, basically, a sailor from Iceland. He sailed with his tribe,
yeah, yeah.
and they've found, the Americas. They were the first people. And do you know what they were? What did they call it?
Oh,
They've called it Vinland. And the reason why is that when they arrived by the shore, I think they landed in modern day. I would say like sort of, I don't know, but what is a green land that is like sort of not Miami, but I would say maybe, I don't know, somewhere like in America who has
yeah,
like
yeah,
so much like greenness and everything, and it has to be near to Iceland.
yeah,
Anyway, it's not important.
yeah,
But when they arrived there to that land, to that state, whatever it is in modern times, they found it to be full with grapevines and grapes. And from grape you make wine, and thus
yeah, yeah.
comes the term
That's
Vinland
interesting.
in Old Norse language. That's very cool. So their spirit, their sense of freedom, their sense of bravery, and their understanding of the world has led them to conquer the world. And it's just like I ask myself every day what the world would look like if Vikings still exist. I'm telling you, they would have like made a utopia. They would have made everyone have like a sort of, I don't know, a Norse
Yeah.
passport or something.
So what happened to them in the end?
In the end, they had a big sort of battle. So after they've installed a Norse king in Wessex, which is modern day sort of, I think, Sussex and all of these like sort of cities in England.
Yeah.
They've installed a king there. After that, they had a famous battle in history um, between the last, like, sort of Norse king, King Harold. Um, it was called, I think, he was.
Sigurdsson. He was the last Norse king, and he had a really big battle with the Saxons at Stamford Bridge. And there's a famous poet in Norse mythology. It's called Stamford Broa. It's basically like it's called the Great Battle of Stamford Bridge. In it, the Vikings have lost and they've succumbed like to lose like their territory in England and all of that. And then after that, the Christianization of Scandinavia came in, where people started to, I think, value life more than war.
Yeah.
And some Vikings even actually sort of was multi-religious, so they believed in Jesus Christ and the Norse gods. There was actually like they found a stone, a runic stone in I think it was Norway, that they've described this Viking who said, "When I am at sea, I pray to Odin," which is a Norse god. When I'm at land, I pray to Jesus Christ. So they were like at that time multi-religious. But then like this, I sort of believe that everyone should be. This spirituality sort of faded away to Christianity, unfortunately, which we have seen like in Europe, like even like the Germanic tribes have succumbed to Christianity, and I say succumbed because sure, maybe at that time it gave them some quality of life, but it took away what for me was the greatest human value. It's like that sheer bravery and that power that your spirit, that spirituality gives to you. So it was unfortunate.
In Iran, we had the same thing. Like when Arabs attacked us, before most of the majority of Iranians, they had a religion called Zatoust.
I've heard about it.
Yeah. So then Arabs attacked us, and
This was like in the period where they had like Irani kings and everything.
yeah. So like the history of Iran is two parts basically: before Islam and after Islam. And before Islam, we had three emperors. The name was Hachamaneshian, Ashkanian, and Sasanian. Sasanian was the last one. Then they didn't like change the religion to Islam, so they attacked them. But there's a whole other history. Like they say, I heard it recently that they didn't attack us for no reason. They sent us a messenger to Iran, and the king killed the messenger. So that thing started the whole war between Iranians and Arabs won. But then, like, the start when we became Shia was way after this. We had an emperor named Safavieh. Originally, they were Turks, but they made people to be Shia, and the whole Shia thing started from that time. Yeah, I like.
So approximately what year is this?
What year?
When the Shia started
Let me search. I have no idea because it's a long time.
Because here's the thing, like back in the 80s, your people were like somewhat secular. Like, it was literally like another European country.
Yeah. So the date is the first ruler was from 1732 to 1736. So that was the first emperor of that. The first emperor of that empire.
Yeah, but like here's the thing. Like I saw some like videos and pictures of like the 80s and 70s, like Iran in the 80s and 70s. Like I saw girls in bikinis. Fucking,
That time was the
prime time of Iran.
Yeah, it was like 46, 47 years ago. that the revolution happened in Iran, we turned out to be an Islamic republic. Before that time, we had kings, and that emperor only have two kings. And
Yeah,
then
but like your system was secular, so you allowed people to live.
yeah,
like,
yeah. But
outside.
the thing is, there is a scenario that they say UK did this to Iran because on that time we were too powerful to like UK, and it was like they were afraid what would happen next because Iran made the whole OPEC thing, and we were the people who made the oil price in the world. So I mean, maybe because of that, they saw it's a great danger. So one day, if they get rich, they cannot handle us anymore because
Yeah.
we're not like we don't need them as a help because we got everything. So that's why this is the story that they say UK did it to like, and even now, one of the reasons that our country can't sell oil, I think it's not only because of the sanctions. It's because like they say that our government say Russia is our friend, but I mean like if Russia like from the sanctions, Russia has some benefits because if they stop us from selling oil, Russians can sell their oil. So I mean, Russia is not a friend.
It's not, Fred. The Russians are known to be manipulative, I mean, honestly.
Yeah,
They just like, they give you like sweet words
yeah.
and fail like sort of empty promises, and then when the shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
it hits hard.
Yeah, so yeah, even in World War One and World War Two, we didn't have any problem in the country. Like, but Russians and UK people came to Iran and they say, "Oh, we have some Germans in here. We have to find them and kill them." And they start getting our oil for free, basically.
Getting your what?
Oil.
Oil.
Yeah.
That's so ironic. Like the Brits and like the French have a really good history of like stealing and like lying.
Like, let me tell you a funny story about when they found Australia. They go there and they found an animal that they never saw before. It was kangaroo. And in English, they asked the natives, "What is this animal? We never saw it." They said kangaroo. But after a few years, they realized kangaroo in that language means "I don't understand what you're saying."
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
That's the funny story how they named kangaroo.
Wait, but then its species name must be different.
Yeah.
The kangaroo itself.
Yeah, in native, back in the day, the native one was different, but they say kangaroo because they didn't understand.
I actually don't know this. Who are the native people who were first occupied Australia?
Australia? You mean the people who occupied it, or
No. The native people who came first. Were they Africans?
No, I don't think so. Because you see, these people from New Zealand, they have tattoos. I think those people are.
So basically, some tribe of gypsies, maybe. That would be
Natives.
It's very interesting.
Aboriginal Australians or various First Nations people of Australia. Yeah. I cannot pronounce it.
Indigenous Australians. So they're basically like gypsy Australians.
So
Where did they originate from, I wonder? I mean, you have to think about it geographically. Australia, what is the closest sort of...
New Zealand
New Zealand.
and East Asia countries, that's all.
Okay. So they've tribes that they've migrated from there. That's very interesting.
Yeah, but I think, let me see the skin color. Yeah, they are dark. They're black, basically, because it's hot in there.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I thought that much I will punch you.
Yeah, we have a guest coming up, so...
Yeah, the guest is Mushtaba.
He can just join. We're not gonna like
Yeah.
cut it or anything. He can just join. Like we put his camera and then we're just gonna figure it out. But anyway, like, as I was saying, history is an endless database of lessons. Like you could even get lessons from within lessons. It's crazy.
But did we learn anything from them?
I mean, here's the problem. Like, no matter like how hard we try, but like it only. How can I say? It's only effective when you apply it. Like when you're in a shit situation and you want to like make a strategy. This is where history comes. Like, for example, the whenever we get like into wars, it's always a good idea to look at history to see like what's happening. I think that's a good practice. Like, but more than that, like what scares me is like what we might have lost, like in burnt libraries and so on. Because think about it, whenever like raids happen in a country or like in a village or something, think of like, because people used to pillage everything, set everything on fire, kill people. Like think of what could have been lost due to wars, like in terms of knowledge and
We had
books.
this in Iran when Mongols attacked Iran. They burned every library that they had.
Think about like what you guys might have had, like what sort of technology you've been maybe developing. I don't know.
Yeah, like the main problem was now, like we have a kind of poem. His name is Ferdowsi. We don't have his original books. We just have some kind of younger
Snippets.
version of but they're not sure if it's the real thing or not. They say it might happen when Mongols attack Iran, but they're not sure. But they're trying to find the original from the copies that we got.
So this Ferdowsi guy, what is he, like a mathematician?
No, he was a
Polymath?
no, he was a poet.
Poet?
Yeah. But it was kind of the book had three parts. One part was about history, one part about mythology, and actually I like the mythology. So it's not about gods and stuff. It's about some people that used to live in Iran. That some stories they might say it was real, but they are
legendary stories.
Yeah, legendary
like
stories.
slaying dragons
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. Do you have Div in Arabic? Div, like
Div?
yeah. In what was the name in English? What was Shrek?
Trick?
Shrek.
Ogre.
Ogre.
Yeah.
The thing was in that
Well,
book.
we say ghoul.
Ghoul.
Basically. Yeah.
Ghoul for us is a giant kind of thing. But in that thing, basically the fight was between Ugas and humans. Yeah, it was.
That's basically like monster versus
Yeah.
everything. But like,
It was a funny story to read. Like,
that's cool. Yeah. I love like legends, like mythical like stories. I love it.
we have I think two legends in Iran. They're really famous and everyone knows about it. It's one of them is Rustam. And the other one is Arash Kamangir.
I've heard of the legend of Rustam.
Yeah.
I've heard about it. I haven't read it, but
Yeah, but when you look at what we could have lost, because the other thing is, I told you about Ashkanian. We don't have any kind of book from Ashkanian. Like, we have some few books, but it's not a lot. But they know that they were writers and stuff, but we got nothing from that area.
this sort of lost knowledge is also like what makes me believe that, for example, Atlantis was real. I mean, look at the fucking Amazon forest. Like how there is some hidden architecture like beneath the tons and tons of sort of soil and rivers and everything. So, and like look at the Aztecs, for example, the Aztec people of Nepal back in the days, and obviously like the pyramids. They're all evidence that there was like a fucking alternate like sort of universe with possibilities and like and technology that these people had. And I honestly it's so saddening. Like think about it, like an entire like era of technology lost to time. Like what would have happened if we actually preserved it somehow?
I mean, there was probably a reason that maybe we once got extinct and now we're here again.
That's also a good argument.
Yeah.
That's also good. Maybe like a different kind of humans existed before like the pyramids.
Because when they see Egyptian, like in Egypt, when they see pyramids and stuff, there are some kind of clues that there was something even before Egyptians that they used to live there.
Maybe there was a different species alongside humans, like I don't know, 4-armed like ogres or something.
Maybe because
Jeez.
Abul Hol.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, in Egypt there is a big statue.
Abul Hol, yeah.
Like if you see the pictures, the head is smaller than the whole body. It doesn't like.
So this means that they fitted it like that. So they
they
changed.
say they curve it again to look like Pharaoh, Well,
And we talked about this, I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
basically, this argument says that the Egyptians just came by
Yeah.
these like stuff and they just made some
Yeah,
adjustments.
yeah.
That could be the case. That could be the case.
But I mean, like, from history, I don't think humans learn the important stuff. Because before, like, they had wars and stuff, and now we are intelligent, that we are much smarter than
And
them.
we're still like in war. I mean, the thing is, there is some like behavior that I feel could be changed, and there's other behaviors that I feel like they're embedded with our DNA. Like, for example, think about the sort of aggressive behavior, the feel or the need to conquer or like to have ownership of something. I feel like this is something that is never going to be changed, and it's that is never going to change in us because it's literally in our fucking DNA from the early like stages of humanity, 20,000 years ago. We have proved to be greedy as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so. From that behavior, from that focal point, I feel like this is where like war stems from. This is where conflict stems from. This is where intellectual conflict stems from. Even because even in intellectual sort of debates, we want to be conquering it. We want to have ownership of it. You know what I mean? So it's something that is not going to change.
Like, even in our conversation, we need the power. When
Yeah.
you're talking to someone, you want to be the person that is above you.
Yeah. See, this is why exactly I want to change that. And like whenever I'm in a debate, I want to learn something. I want someone to open my mind onto something else. I just don't want. I don't want to always like present my ideas and like tell you like why I'm right. I want to know also like why I might be wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Because, probably Mustafa is a good guy for these kind of debates. But I think, like, having wars and all this stuff, we just losing time and like, wars help us a lot technology-wise. But I mean, there are some.
But look like at the collateral damage like of war. It's detrimental, isn't it? Like, sure, like here's a historical figure that I admire like with all my heart. Alan Turing. I think you know about him.
No.
He's an English guy, an English computer scientist. He was the father of computers, basically. He is the like sort of he's the inventor of the argument. Is like how to know that you're actually talking to a computer. It's basically like the AI test that is still used in modern times. He, with his contributions to the World War, he's estimated to have saved millions of lives. Because he cracked the famous Nazi Enigma code. No one was able to crack it, and with his understanding of algorithms and encryption and cryptography, he has made like incredible changes. I would say, without Alan Turing, this square piece of fucking technology wouldn't be possible without him. He had made I would say he has sent us 100 years into the future, easily. No one believed in him, and the saddest part about all of this, he was homosexual in a time where homosexuality was forbidden, and like it's just so sad. You know what happened to him? Like, had he stayed like a little bit longer, and had he made like so much more discoveries, I would say we would be like in a different time, because that guy was thinking on a different level. They killed him with a sort of cyanide tinted apple because he was homosexual. It's so saddening. Like I genuinely want to cry right now because like without Alan Turing we would be nowhere. Nowhere.
But at the same time, World War II was a huge jump for the technology.
Yeah. I mean it's a sad argument, isn't it? Because you want to say like, World War helped us a lot. Wars help us a lot to advance in technology, and maybe even without war, we wouldn't have had these like technologies at hand. But at the same time, like look at fucking Hiroshima, for example. An entire generation erased from existence, and yet another generation like sort of built from the ashes of Hiroshima. But it's sad, like, isn't it?
It's sad, but I don't like. There should be always a conflict because
Maybe
lots of people are having benefits from it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what I was going to say. Also,
Take it
thanks.
easy. But here's the thing, like maybe it is a normal stage in like evolution.
Yeah.
Like conflicts exist between animals. It happens. So I feel like it's just part of our existence, maybe. Which is, I would say, the most sad part about it.
Yeah, but you know, I think we had that improvement in technology because we were in a rush. If we don't get it, Germans will get it faster. If
Yeah.
German doesn't get it faster, USA will get it faster.
Yeah.
You know, they were in this rush to be more powerful, so
Absolutely.
we made this whole thing.
Dude, the arms race in World War One was crazy. Everyone was like, even if it was 1% above the other one, it counts. It counts. Think of the Americans, like when they made the Little Boy and Big Boy, like what was it, Big Brother? I can't remember. Like these like two atomic bombs. They were. And, you know, when Einstein came to the help, you know, and got that. I think you watched that, like sort of, or you've heard about that, like incident. It's very, very ironic. I think the invention of like the atomic bomb was the reason why, or like America succeeding in developing a more effective atomic bomb was the main reasons why I think the Nazi army of Germany decided to, you know, fuck Hitler off.